Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I do really hate to break up the party, but it's really just a pause. And, actually the reason that we're here. So I wanted to welcome everyone to the 20th anniversary of the Felix A. Fishman Awards for event for Extraordinary Advocacy. My name is McGregor Smyth, and I'm the Executive Director of New York Lawyers for the Public Interest. It is, well, thank you. I'll pay you later. It's a real joy to gather in both solidarity and celebration. It's one of the reasons why this event is just one of our favorite for the year, and it's incredible to see so many friends and colleagues and partners and supporters. We have board members, PBAC members. It's really an extended part of the NYLPI family. But I don't want a moment to pass without giving very special thanks to Casey Bauer, who is over there by the camera, who has organized this event soup to nuts and just done an amazing job hosting and making us all feel so incredibly welcome. So thank you, Casey. For those that we're just meeting, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about NYLPI and the work that we do. We combine the power of law organizing and the private bar to seek justice for all New Yorkers. And there are a couple of things about our organizational DNA that I think are really important because they infuse events like this and our work. The first is that we are community-driven, not issue-driven. We know that the people who are closest to the problem are closest to the solutions, and they lead our work, not our lawyers, not our advocates, and not our staff. The second is that we know that systemic problems that we all face and that our communities face require creative solutions. And so we litigate and we educate, we organize and we mobilize. Basically, it's anything that we can to achieve lasting change for our client communities. It's been an interesting year of headwinds, right? After some major crises, after 2016, some wins, but we kind of got in an interesting moment, I think, as a community and as a system of advocates. We've headwinds from forces that are trying to claw back the progressive wins that we had from the past few years, and also literally steal rights from us and our communities. We have headwinds from a nervous economy that always defaults to concentrating wealth instead of investing in our communities. And honestly, sometimes we face headwinds from of our own making, from the infighting and disagreements that we have that keep us from moving in these really important moments. That's why we have partners like all of you to make sure that we are continuing to move to the vision of change that our communities have. Despite these headwinds, right? Like the wonderful thing about events like tonight is that this type of gathering shows the hope that we all have, the reason why we engage in this work. All of you here, like I see partners in our work to transform mental health crisis response, to remove the police and make sure that we have a medical and health-driven response rather than a criminal legal system response. We have partners in the fight to expand coverage for all New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status, and making sure that we have an equitable access to organ transplants, despite immigration status. We also have partners in to make real this promise of a generation-defining moment around environmental justice, to make sure that we drastically reduce emissions, that we build renewable infrastructure, and that we direct and invest the billions of dollars into frontline communities instead of distributing them in the way that they always have been. Kind of in the vein of this work, right? Just in the past few months, just to give you a sense of the work that we've done in partnership with all of you. We were retained by the family of Raul de la Cruz, who was a Bronx man who was shot by the police last month, 28 seconds after the police showed up, because his father called 311 because he was concerned about his son that was in crisis. Now, note that he called 311 intentionally. What happened was exactly what he feared would happen. And the work that we do with so many of you is to change that system forever. We've also been deep in budget negotiations for a number of things, but most recently just today to make sure that we preserve the nation-leading climate law that we wrote and passed with so many of you in 2019. And then I also wanted to share that in the past, recently, we had a client, Edmar, who we'd worked with for over a year and finally got approved for a kidney transplant. And now they're just trying to schedule his surgery. And so, I mean, we have impact that goes from the incredible, life-saving individual level to a level that's measured by the scale of New York itself, which is just incredible. And we only do this because of our partnerships with all of you. And I guess kind of most importantly, as we all gather here together, we're here to celebrate two incredible leaders and partners in these fights for justice, Maritza and Beth, who I lost here somewhere. Oh, thank you. Oh, she's hiding there behind Dave. And of course, we're only here to be able to honor these wonderful partners and leaders because of the personal and moral force of Felix A. Fishman, who these awards are named after. We're so incredibly lucky to have representatives of the Fishman family and the Henry and Lucy Moses Fund here who have supported this event for now 20 years. Felix was a man of character, compassion, and curiosity. He was a stellar lawyer at Moses & Singer for, I think, over 65 years, right? His moral sensibilities were shaped by both the Great Depression and the Civil Rights Movement, which is a pretty incredible crucible. And that drove him to be both an incredible lawyer, but also a thoughtful philanthropist. So he worked for 3 decades as a trustee of the Henry and Lucy Moses Fund, directing hundreds of millions of dollars to medical, educational, and other progressive causes, including NYLPI, which is a wonderful thing. So it's incredible to gather in his honor to celebrate wonderful leaders and partners. And with that, I want to turn it over to our first presenter, Justin Wood, who is going to introduce our first honoree. So Justin is the Director of Policy at NYLPI and has worked with Maritza for probably over a decade on a number of just amazing campaigns, and he will tell you all about it. Do you want this on here or there?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. So I'm Justin Wood, and I have the privilege of introducing our first honoree tonight. It's been my honor to work directly with Maritza Silva-Farrell for the better part of what is now a 10-year campaign to reform the commercial waste industry in NYC. Raise your hand if you've heard of Transform, Don't Trash, NYC. Oh, yes. Yeah, love it. And we were co-founders, Align and New York Lawyers for the Public Interest and the Teamsters and New York City Environmental Justice Alliance and NRDC. We were co-founders of this campaign almost exactly a decade ago. In my experience, Maritza is first and foremost, and I've had the pleasure of watching her in so many contexts and her brilliance. She's first and foremost someone who embodies the concept of doing the work, which is a phrase we use a lot in advocacy and organizing, and she lives it every day. She's an absolutely tireless thinker and organizer, willing to give everything of herself to build a better society. Maritza has always stood out to me also as a brilliant strategist. I can remember so many moments when she was the kind of leader who could quickly read a room, use her silence, take her space, and then weigh in at a decisive moment with an elected official or a decision maker and get right to the tough questions and the core of the issue at hand. And I learned a lot from watching you do that. I can also tell you from many a coalition meeting that she's not afraid to push and speak directly and plainly to get to where we need to be in a negotiation or to get to the truth. So Maritza also stands out to me as an organizer who deeply understands the necessity of building strong coalitions and relationships to achieve durable change and justice. And that couldn't be more critical than now, when hugely profitable fossil fuel interests and interests that are interested in preserving inequality in our society are stopping at nothing to use fear to divide workers and communities most impacted by things like climate crisis and social inequality from each other. At Align, she put this understanding into practice constantly to win the types of ambitious win, sometimes even 4 wins, legislative victories that are required to meet the massive challenges that we face. And I just want to name a few of those landmark campaigns. Maritza was a core part of fighting to pass Local Law 97. That's New York's building efficiency and emissions law. One of the most, if not the most, important pieces of climate and green jobs legislation in the United States. We passed the commercial waste zones legislation, that's Local Law 199 for those keeping score, which will reform New York City's notoriously dangerous, exploitative, and polluting private sanitation industry by building a coalition of workers, environmental justice communities, safe streets activists, businesses, and climate activists, all stakeholders and impacted by the current inefficient and polluting system. She secured funding for low-income and undocumented seniors to access home care by organizing a multi-generational community labor coalition called Caring Across Generations. And finally, as our city and state grappled with the devastation of the COVID crisis in the early months of 2020, Maritza and Align convened a powerful rapid response coalition campaign to pass the New York HERO Act, which created extensive new workplace protections as the virus devastated communities in New York State and our essential workers kept on working. There's so much more I could say about what I and others have learned from Maritza and how these organizing wins have created a template for social change that's relevant to every aspect of NYLPI's community lawyering work, but I'm going to leave it there because we're very excited to see Maritza's ongoing contribution in the Future of Workers program at Ford Foundation, and most importantly, it's a pleasure to be able to honor a friend and partner and to present this award and to hear a few words directly from you now, Maritza. You want to stay on to this one?
Thank you. Oh my God. You know, I prepared some remarks, but at first I just want to say this is overwhelming. I am so grateful, extremely grateful and honored to be here, and honored to be in the space where so many people are standing up for what is right. I feel like this, you know, it's not about me. I appreciate it. Thank you. It is about the folks who are on the ground, the folks who are we working with, and we're making sure that we change the conditions for workers, for our environment, and our planet. And each and one of you are making the difference. And I'm also truly honored to receive this award because, you know, I went online and I looked at all the awardees that you have in the past, and they're like amazing people that I know in the movement, people that I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, I want to be one of them. So I am really, really, truly honored by all of you today. And, you know, all of these people have made great contributions for workers and the environment in our state. And the work cannot happen by one person. You know, you cannot lead alone. That's the reality. And building coalitions if you do build coalitions, you know that it is no easy task. It is hard. It is a hard piece of work, but I love it. I loved it, and for me, although it's hard, working across differences and finding, that task of like, how do I find the people, like how can they come together? We all want the same things. Let's figure it out. We're gonna make it happen, and we do. And we do because everybody believes that we need dignity and respect in the workplace. Everybody believes that we need a safe planet, right? I am grateful to have had the opportunity to work with NYLPI particularly because, through the years, you can have all the ideas in the world, but if they are not legal, it doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work. It's like, oh no, preemption, just shut it down. Not gonna happen. But NYLPI has always brought up the strategic mind. Justin, you have been an incredible partner in all of the campaigns. You have been the strategist to me. Like, okay, let's think about this option, this other option. Where do we go? So that strategic vision has supported me and has been instrumental in the wins of all of these campaigns. Like I say, this work takes a village, takes a state, takes a city, takes all of us. And it has been an incredible, rewarding experience for me to be part of this. I am in the other side now, and I see the other side. Arturo can laugh about it. But yes, I do want to highlight a couple of campaigns that I really feel have been important to me. I remember the meetings when we were discussing CLCPA. That law, it used to be called CCPA. Do you remember? You can thank Governor Cuomo for that change of name. But that law, it actually moved us to codify into law the changes that we need to be seen in our state to move away from fossil fuel infrastructure and move into renewable energy infrastructure by 2050. It took a lot of us. It took a lot of discussions, a lot of disagreements, and the law passed. And it passed because of people like you all. I want to thank and actually say very openly, the Local 197, the New York Hero Act, all of the campaigns that we worked on, including the electric buses, are campaigns that came out from an idea. Small ideas that came and said, like, hey, let's do this. Can we do it? The answer on my end has always been like, yes, we can. Not because of me, it's because we have the collective power to do it when we can work together. And that's the belief that I think we all have, and we have been able to do that work. I really, really want to dedicate this award to the Align team and the Align as an organization. Align has been the organization that knows what it looks like to be a partner with somebody, long-standing alliances and community and labor. And when we work together, we can win together. I want to thank the folks who are in this room today who have been working with me and partnered with me every day, from our funder support, from Arturo, from our board member, Bernadette Kelly, who is here, I hope is still there, Anthony Thomas, who is somewhere there, who has been amazing as a board member, as a strategist and partner in the work. I want to say thank you, because I learned from you and we work together to make these changes happen. I want to thank Chris Erickson for his leadership and the leadership of the work of the IBW Local 3 in changing the conditions when it comes to thinking about just transition. And more importantly, and last not least, my family. I'm so grateful to have my mom here today. You know that I have an accent, right? I'm from Ecuador. She's living in Ecuador. She came to visit. I'm going to take 1 more minute, if that's okay. And she's here. She's here to stand with me, even though she understands half of what I say. But thank you to my mom. Thank you to my husband, Andy, who is always there with me, being the spine and just like dealing with all my crazy meetings and stuff. And yeah, so I think just to conclude, I do feel like in order for us to build the community that we want and the path to have self-determination, it is possible to do that, but not by one person. it's collective one. It's a collective one, and I want to remind us that as we move forward in whichever direction we go, whether it is from the funder perspective, the organizing perspective, the campaigners on the ground, in order for us to affect change, we need to just see that transformation and change is possible, and only if we band together and reclaim the power that we can have when we collectively work together. Thank you all for this award, and keep on going.
What? Anthony, always watching for the moment. Thank you, Maritza. I think I speak for all of us. You truly belong on this list of wonderful honorees and partners. So thank you. I also wanted to give a very quick and important shout out to our incredible interpreters who are working with us to make sure that our program is accessible and also much more animated and interesting, which is important when it comes to me. So I next wanted to call up Ruth Lowenkron, who is our Director of Disability Justice. And like our next honoree, Beth, is a longtime leader in disability justice and mental health access, and is here to present our next award.
Thank you, McGregor. Thank you, everyone who's here today, for coming. And it's really an exciting, exciting moment. As I wrote to myself, I am thrilled to introduce Beth. My daughter wondered why I had to write that. I did not have to write that. But I am truly, truly thrilled. And just going around the room and talking to everyone who's worked with Beth and just saying, isn't this so exciting that we're awarding Beth today? And everybody with that same amount of enthusiasm. It's lovely. I've known Beth for several decades. We have the same number of decades actually under our belts. We're actually little twinnies when you get down to it. Same age, same amount of time between college and law school. And we like each other too, besides. So it's really, really my pleasure to be here to bestow this award on her that comes obviously not only from me in any way, shape, or form, and also, though, not even only from NYLPI, but from everyone in this room who works with Beth and just knows that she is one of the premier disability justices. Yeah, she should be a disability justice. One of my Freudian mistakes. One of the premier disability justice attorneys in the country. And we're fortunate to work so closely with Beth. As I said, I've known her for a few decades, and I think it all started when we began working on the Willowbrook case together. Not so much me at that point, well, even actually not at this point, but the rest of the staff working with Beth on one of the most prominent cases in the country, I have to say. It's certainly one of the most long-standing cases. It's all about not forgetting what we as a society have done to people with disabilities. We have let them languish in institutions in the most despicable of circumstances. And it is truly one of those times when, again, you heard it in the prior speeches, when people came together. It wasn't only the lawyers by any stretch. A lot of the parents of people at Willowbrook, a lot of elected officials coming together to make sure that Willowbrook would never happen again. And we continue along that path, and Beth leads that way with our colleague, Robbie, who wishes she were here for sure. And I'm going to read you what someone else who wishes they were here said about you, and I think this will really resonate, said way better than me. I could have just read this and be done, but I won't. Beth is deserving of thousands, only the ha-ha, because I really do think that Beth is not going to tell you how wonderful she is, and we all just do want to revel in that and hear it. So I'm going to do just a little bit more. Beth is deserving of thousands of families' profound thanks for her laboring on behalf of the Willowbrook class. It has been a struggle that families alone could not do. I'm so grateful that her talents and resolve have been put to use for our people who are unable to speak for themselves. The entire class says, thank you, Beth. And needless to say, that's not all Beth does. And I'll just tell you a little bit more. One of the big matters that Beth works on along with us is in the space of mental health crisis response transformation. Say that 5 times fast. But it is key. You heard McGregor talk about it. We, again, face horrific statistics about how we as a society treat people with mental health conditions. We think it's okay to, under the guise of helping them, come in with police, and sometimes the police aren't trained. Even if they are trained, they are, as we know, not the right people to come and deal with a health situation. And so we work hard, Beth and I together, some of her colleagues, Lee, my colleague, Marinda. We're working hard in so many different ways. We work together at CCIT NYC, which everybody knows, right? So yeah, see, I don't have to say what it is. Correct Crisis Intervention Today, New York City. An amazing coalition that Beth is one of the strongest, fiercest workers on. We are also part of and that's working primarily, as the name suggests, in New York City. We work also on the Daniels Law Coalition, which is a statewide coalition where we have successfully had a law introduced that you have been getting messages from, and I hope you've been responding to. And if you haven't, you will, and you will, in fact, write those emails. We have just a little bit of time, and we need to tell the legislature, put just a little bit of money, guys, just $10 million for a pilot. Come on, please. And what that will do is ensure that we don't have police responding, but that rather we have teams of peers, those with lived mental health experience, who are trained, who would be trained in this space to respond appropriately, and also emergency medical technicians. So we treat this as the health matter that it is. And this is another area that we work in together under that banner, and that's in our litigation in this space. We have an amazing class action litigation, and Beth and NYCLU are not on the papers in that litigation. But does that mean Beth is far away in her office? No, Beth is there working and available for consultation at every twist and turn, and that's just amazing for us. And I'm just talking about the few things we work on together. Kendra's Law, by the way, that's another huge thing. Forced outpatient commitments and the way, again, that we are trying to have people with mental health disabilities taken against their will and under the guise of helping and treating. This is just a fraction of the disability work that Beth works on. Her docket is complete. And I just want to comment on a bit of her personality that I think everybody will say, yup. Steel trap mind, right? Right? I looked it up. Don't look it up. It's kind of gross where the wording comes from, but I want to make sure that I had it. But it's like she's got it all up here. Everything. It's amazing. And that everything is a lot of law, which couldn't be more helpful for us. And really what's key is that she generously shares all that law, all that strategizing, all those advocacy skills with us. And I will add, at any time of day or night, because she's one of them, and uses all of that for extraordinary advocacy on behalf of people with disabilities. Beth Haroules, that'd be you.
It's okay, I'll just. Hi, good evening. I'm really honored tonight by all of this. It's an even greater honor to be placed in the ranks of all of the past honorees, many of whom have been colleagues and friends. Yes, thank you. Ruth emotes, yes, and I sort of stand there. But most of the past honorees I actually know. I've been in the practice in the field, working with NYLPI for a very long time. All of the past honorees, so many of you in this room have made such important contributions to life in our city and state and have taught me so much about just the power of belief in making sure that people with disabilities are treated and seen as the human beings they are and entitled to the dignity that they should command. In an example of the serendipity of life, I started my legal career in New York City at Moses and Singer. I was a paralegal. I was a summer associate for my first year after law school. I actually knew Felix Fishman. I knew Joe. I was friends with his daughter Maggie. I knew about the firm's work with the Lucy and Henry Moses Fund. It was a long time ago, which is evidenced by the fact that I remember Felix so very well ensconced in his corner office, puffing away on one of his array of very funky smelling cigars. This is how long ago it was. If you had a door to your office, you used to be able to smoke behind that door. But if you fast forward to my first days at the NYCLU in 1994, when I was introduced almost immediately to the first of my many New York lawyers for the public interest compatriots and friends, Carrie, Daniela, Amanda, Lourdes, Robbie, Mirinda, and of course Ruth. These are all women. It's a very interesting field to be in as a person who presents as a woman. At almost every meeting in Willowbrook that we're at, there are very few men. Part of it, I believe, is because it is a disability practice, but I do believe it is the power of a particular mindset that reveals itself both in power and in service to people with disabilities. NYLPI has been a steadfast partner over the years in the Willowbrook case. This case has been going for 51 years now. It was filed in 1972. I was not there, but I'm shepherding it along with my friends, colleagues who are here today. I've also been very lucky to advance disability justice from a very privileged perch as a staff attorney at the NYCLU. We are the New York State affiliate of the American Civil Liberties Union. My work on disability justice has intersected beyond Willowbrook between disability, race, criminal justice system, involuntary admissions, retentions, forced treatment of people with mental illness in psychiatric wards across the state in New York City public hospitals. We've worked on medical aid in dying. I've worked on substituted decision-making for people who are incapacitated. As you heard from Ruth, in partnership with NYLPI and with the Bazelon Center and with Dennis Feld, who's here from MHLS, we challenged Kendra's Law. And even though that was back in the 90s, we are continuing on a daily basis to have to fight that law back and try to fight against New York State's efforts to worsen that bad law. You also heard that we work in coalition with New York lawyers, with CCIT NYC, with the Daniels Law Coalition, and in the city working with advocates for the unhoused in trying to fight the criminalization of poverty and disability by the Adams administration. As you may take away from this litany, my professional work days are never dull. but the stakes are very high, and the rights I help to defend or advance are continuously under challenge. So I thank you all very much for acknowledging my very small part in this struggle to advance disability rights and social justice. I really couldn't do it without everyone who has gone before me and everyone who is here with me tonight. Thank you very much. I should shout out my family, my husband, my son Hayden, my daughter Emma, and so many colleagues who are here this evening. I mean, it really is just so overwhelming. Thank you so much.
I love that Beth is part of, is like woven into both the NYLPI legacy, but also the Moses Singer and Fishman family legacy. It's very fitting. Well, to close us out, I would like to turn over the program to Susan Kohlmann, who is our fantastic board chair and also president of the City Bar.
Wow, look at this room. You guys are all amazing. So it is my great honor and privilege to be the board chair of this incredible organization. It's hard to follow both Maritza and Beth. They are truly incredible, and we're delighted to be able to honor them. And really on behalf of the board and all of the staff at NYLPI, I want to express my deep gratitude to all of you for joining us today. Your presence and your support really mean everything to us, and we could not be more grateful to all of you for being here. And as I think about everything that we've heard today, of course, I'm incredibly proud. Together, obviously with the amazing honorees that we have, with the amazing staff that we have, and with all of you that support NYLPI in so many ways, we have fought tirelessly for environmental and immigrant justice, disability rights, and access to health care. We have made a difference in the lives of countless individuals, families, communities, and we are really, really committed to doing even more. So stay tuned, just watch us. And of course, we really couldn't do what we do without so many of you who are standing in this room tonight, and we want to thank you for your support, for your partnership, for your unwavering commitment to NYLPI and to our mission. Every single one of you has the power to make a difference, and we urge you to continue standing with us as we all together work to create a more just and equitable New York for everyone. So with that, thank you again for your support. We really look forward to continuing this important work with all of you, and we hope you will now eat, drink, and be merry and celebrate our amazing honorees. Thank you all so much.